Agatha All Along wasn't very good. Wasn't even great. Not even gonna lie to you. Regardless, we're all here because one person suggested it a couple months ago, and I finally set aside my negativity, my expectations, my pride, and I sat down and watched all of Agatha All Along, so you never have to. Sacrifices must be made for the greater good. I don't know about the greater good, but the sacrifice was made. Greetings and salutations. Today we're talking about Agatha All Along, which is a 9-episode series expanding on the worlds that WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2 built. Directed by Jack Schaefer and starring Katherine Hine, the show follows Agatha Harkness, stuck in Westview 3 years after Wanda's spell.
Catch me up.
About 3 years.
3 years?
We live in a post-WandaVision reality, so Wanda's life has been a hot mess. Her husband's gone, her imaginary kids are thrown across the multiverses, and she's been dipping in the dark old Cheetos. After some much-needed dying underneath some rocks, Agatha is speedrunning the lowest form of Law & Order that illustrates the cracks in Wanda's spell. And then Teen, some random teenager that's definitely not going to become important later, frees her from said spell. And that's just the first episode. The rest of the series for the next 9 episodes just contains a whole chaotic mix of witches, death, and big attempts at a story to get us invested in the D team of Marvel characters that they're only going to pull out whenever Halloween comes around. However, me being an optimist who has to find the positive in things and just scrounge around wherever I can find it, the first episode is not a bad concept. I'm just being honest. Don't get me wrong, Katherine Hine is definitely hining it up and is heavily baked throughout this show.
Asleep in bed. Total loser? Or totally lying? Let's find out.
I didn't say all of it is great, but you could either take it or leave it. There is no third option. Third option is turning the TV off.
Turn the TV off, turn the TV off.
The concept of Agatha exploring her origins as well as discovering her morality with the audience in true crime fashion in itself was a decent thought for all of the 15 minutes that they did it for. And then we just got Agatha power hungry and stuck with a coven who have to babysit a teenager, which is essentially what the show is. Marvel, why are we so allergic to good storytelling? I don't understand. Do we not want to make money? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Agatha All Along is well established in the realm of gay. If characters aren't explicitly gay, then they have some tendencies. It's just a fact. They even said it themselves.
The show has been described to me as the gayest Marvel project to date. Do you agree?
I would say so, yeah. It's got many layers, and definitely gay is one of them.
I want to ask you both because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable. It's pretty gay, let's be honest.
I know Disney is trying to move away from the lesbian witches meme, but it doesn't help when you make a whole show 4 months later about gay witches. It's not what you think it is. What it shows is that you have comedic timing and a wicked sense of humor, not representation. Diversity is not an aesthetic you can just apply. I will make the case that series like Heartstopper and Love, Simon have queer stories that they're centered around and have the proper intention. Hearing it from a Marvel show whose whole point is to expand on an ever-expanding universe, only focus on the fact that, yeah, it's very gay, seems very weird to me when that's not the sole intention. It's just weird in terms of marketing. Maybe that's a topic for the comments or a completely separate video, but I just thought I'd state my opinion in a video completely about my opinion. Anyway, on to the show. Spoilers, obviously. To start, Teen frees Agatha from Wanda's hex. This random witch bursts in and she's claiming that she needs to reap Agatha's soul. And then Agatha goes on to be like, no, you shouldn't do that because it wouldn't be a fair fight because I don't have my powers. You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses now, would you? And then Rio Duvall is like, okay. She proceeds to let Agatha have plenty of time to gather a coven so she can regain said power. Why S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't leave any operatives behind to detain Agatha when she's out here freely walking in the nude to prevent this very situation from happening? Not a clue. When Wanda dies, the spell could have been corrupted at any point in time. The logic in the show is hardly present. Agatha is well known, in fact infamous, for being a weirdo. She has a certain penchant for nixing witches. She's just not to be trusted. Yet every witch in the proximity of the area is going to join her in her coven because she's a baddie.
Honestly, asking me to coven up with the single most infamous witch on this continent?
Oh, please. Name a Badu bitch in South America. Or Europe.
Who is this child?
And the motivations of these characters being here are as follows. Lilia thinks it's her destiny. Jennifer just wants her powers back because she's bound and she has no power, she's magicless. And then Alice wants to find her mommy and maybe she's on the witch's road. Teen also wants powers because he's a fledgling witch apparently. Deborah Jo's character is just vibing. She's just there, and that's okay. Now, after they sing the song and do the dance, the Coven embarks on a journey down the road, and what I can describe to be a series of trauma-specific escape rooms that they're going to have to go through. Jennifer, who again is magicless, proceeds to go down and use magic to save the group. And then Deborah Jo's character dies because she wasn't saved in time, and then Rio conveniently replaces her. Alice is a protection witch who has mommy issues and a generations-long curse. Her mom was a huge musician in the 70s and also a part-time witch during that time. I'm not going to talk about the fact that it's very ironic that a protection witch can't even protect herself. I can't protect you! Not going to talk about it. Not going to do it. So Alice's escape room was just based off of the 70s. Jennifer's whole arc makes no sense. She's supposed to be written as powerless, but she uses magic to save the day and proceeds to summon a whole other witch when Miss Hart dies. So where are we going from here? And then Alice is pretty much background. There's nothing really to her. She's very bland. Agatha's backstory gets a little bit of a reveal. She had a son named Nicholas Scratch. Rumor has it that she gave him up for the Darkhold. Not true. By this point, Teen is highly suspected to be Agatha's son because he's old enough to be her son, and then on top of that, he's the only dude in the show. It just makes sense, but the show is laying it on thick since episode 1, and they confirmed this on whether or not he is or isn't her son when he gets a shard of glass in his stomach and Agatha has like an iota of parental concern, and Rio Duvall comes up to Agatha and tells her, "That's not him. That's not the guy." Mephisto is just casually name dropped in conversation and has nothing to do with anything in the show thus far.
They say no one really knows what happened to him. He might be dead. Others say he might be a demon or an agent of Mephisto. That's what happens when you have Agatha Harkness as your mom, right? I doubt she'd even recognize her own son if he showed up at her doorstep.
Sorry, fans, is this the only reason you watch the show? Ha 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 ha, gotcha. Why? And the reason why Teen would have been high on the suspect list is because he's prevented from revealing any personal information about himself with a hex. Someone hexed him, he doesn't know who. Every time he tries to say his name, it weirdly gets warbled out, or there's an insignia that is written across his lips. There's an M on it, so if he's not Agatha's son, who else could he be? The Nicholas Scratch subplot feels like a weird attempt to make Agatha seem sympathetic when she continuously is not a sympathetic character. The Coven will proceed to openly bond without Agatha around, and whenever she is around, the only thing she really talks about is when she continuously kills people or when she is plotting against them. By this point, we're in Agatha's escape room, and we enter into it with a 80s sleepover theme because Ouija board. So Agatha's mom shows up via Ouija board and tries to reap her soul, and then Alice tries to protect her using her powers, but little does she know, oh, Agatha absorbs powers, so she's gonna kill me. And then Alice ends up dead. Rio Duvall is revealed as Death, and she ends up taking Alice into a timeout corner while the rest of them proceed on, and we have yet to see Death until the end of the show. Alice's death meant nothing to me because she was barely developed as a character, much like Jen, so she's irrelevant to anything that is happening and taking place. She's just there for the ride.
I finally broke the curse. I can really do something with my life now.
You're a protection witch.
Yeah.
You died protecting someone.
Teen ends up having a meltdown because Agatha called him nice or whatever. I don't know, something along the lines of calling him a fan, I guess, which he has been this entire show. He starts cleaning house, namely Agatha, and kills her by throwing her in a swamp and not helping her, and then proceeds to also throw the rest of the Coven into the swamp. Teen's emotional outburst feels spontaneous and unearned. There is no reason why he should be acting this way, and there's no reason why he should all of a sudden have mastery over his abilities, because that's lazy writing. I have no clue why he decided to kill the rest of the Coven. I can only assume that when you throw them in a swamp that they're not able to get out of, that is intentional murder. Teen is revealed to be Billy Maximoff, aka Wiccan. Is there anybody surprised? Turns out Billy and Tommy were so well written. So organic.
Like ice cream like every child should. And if we get
layers of onions under Maximoff Productions that they existed outside of Wanda's hex and proceeded to soul transplant themselves into individuals outside of the hex, you know, because that doesn't create any sort of plot holes. So while Billy's body is inhabiting the soul sphere, he proceeds to transplant himself into the body of William Kaplan, who ended up in a car accident outside the hex. Why would that be the first person you would think to inhabit? I wouldn't want to be part of someone that is actively dying while I'm dying. This is already a problem. And during this time of him questioning his identity, he proceeds to make an investigation for himself and tries to figure out as many things connecting him to Westview. And that eventually leads him to not Quicksilver, who just points him in the direction of Agatha, and thus why we are here. Okay, sorry guys. Can we take a minute? You're telling me that the most powerful character with the most Omega threat level magic, as well as just overall girl boss hype behind her, and you're telling me she couldn't even rewrite a spell to not kill her family? She couldn't even get that right? Don't worry guys, I have the same issues with Doctor Strange and No Way Home because I criticize equally. Another reveal that the writers don't realize is not great for the show is that Wiccan actually imagined the road, but couldn't imagine a map to find his brother. Now, where is the magic system in that? Apparently, during his time as a personal investigative journalist, he embedded all the information that he learned about the Witch's Road and everything on Westview and just embedded it in here, which even that is a plot hole within itself because he was not there when the ritual was taking place. So how would he know that the road needed to be made? Which also makes the fact that he created the exact circumstances to kill everybody in his coven based off of their traumas. And Wiccan's a hero? Now, to explain who hexed him, it was actually Lilia. At a bar mitzvah that he had, she ended up being there doing palm readings, which is hilarious to think about because divination is against the Jewish religion. So I have no clue why the writers thought, yeah, this'll work. And to make matters worse, Agatha already knew that the Witch's Road wasn't real. She was just surprised that it ended up in the middle of her basement when she planned to siphon the powers of the witches for her own immortality and power. As it turns out, this was a song that Agatha and her son made over the course of the years, and it was popularized so people would want to find the Witch's Road, and Agatha would use that to siphon their powers. And she would siphon them simply because she would berate them that they're not powerful enough to use their powers to unlock the Witch's Road. Death is also revealed to be Agatha's ex-lover, which who wouldn't love the person who's making their business booming? It just turns out that they were together for longer than we think. Agatha's baby's father is unknown, so going forward, Nicholas Scratch is just used as collateral damage in the unhealthy relationship of Death. In the finale, Death and Agatha end up fighting, but it's short-lived. Agatha ends up sacrificing herself for Teen so he could live on, and she ends up getting the kiss of death and proceeds to die. And then she gets revived as a ghost pet for Billy, and they go off on a misadventure to find Tommy. And that is how it ends. My God. The finale is by far the worst part of the show. Firstly, I hate Teen as a character, and more so as a character that is supposed to be important for later installments. His reveal as Wiccan is probably the worst thing the show could have done, because not only is he just not a good character, but he also has this subconscious magic that creates the Witch's Road that his friends do end up dying on, friends in quotations, and he goes out to seek more power to find his brother, but said power was within him all along. Does this sound like a good plot? People dying on the road becomes dumb. Him seeking out more power to go find his brother Tommy becomes even dumber. So it's as if the show said it was all a dream and it's the friends we made along the way, but we ended up killing all our friends in the dream, so was it really a dream? I'm not gonna say it, but it's like we went in a circle. There's also the fact that this character doesn't really know who he is. The writers don't even. And that's not even to go along with the Billy Maximoff and William Kaplan plot. It's simply just the character itself doesn't know what he's doing. Nothing along the lines of simple logic and reasoning works. Along with his weird emotional outbursts towards Agatha and then his random murderous tendencies throughout, it just doesn't make sense. He's also the worst performing actor for some reason. I know he's in Heartstopper and he's probably like a nice, cool kid or whatever and a great actor in there. But what I'm seeing here, based off of the performance I'm getting, it's not looking good. After the death of Agatha, and she says some mean things and reveals the plot that she wanted to siphon the powers of everybody in the home, he ends up trying to banish her and then doesn't because she says that she's trying to hide away from her child. This entire time, Agatha has been benching about the fact that she doesn't have her son anymore, and the one opportunity that she actually gets to see him in the afterlife, she doesn't want to face the music because she knows that she is a terrible mother, but she's going to proceed to stay as a ghost to accompany this teenager she barely knows. But the show has tried to get sympathy points from me for a son that she doesn't even want to see. The show doesn't really deal with the implications of Billy's new soul now transplanted into this body of William Kaplan. His gay boyfriend accepts him, and that's all he's really there for, is to just show that, oh, he told somebody that he's not who he really is. That should feel a little bit better. So there's hardly any consequences or any nuanced intrigue that is coming from the fact that this person is not who he says he is, and the show does little to challenge it, nor does it really explain any of it or the magic system that is within the show. And to springboard off the magic system, this show has no magic system. Wizards of Waverly Place, Star Wars, Harry Potter, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and the Teenage Witch had a magic system. How does Marvel's opportunity to explain a magic system only go as far as random energy beams, witches occasionally doing a seance, and then vague answers to questions we're probably not going to get answers to? At one point before the end of the season, Agatha and Billy have a little seance, and she uses Billy's mind in order to find Tommy's soul. So to figure out his location, they end up seeing a boy in a swimming pool. Turns out the more they focus on the boy in the swimming pool, the more potential they have to make room for Tommy, which the implications of that is to kill the boy and have him take him, which Billy now has problems with the implications of this, but there's no explanation as to how the soul transplanting thing is figured out, and this could literally be applied to any Marvel character that ends up dying. And as a result of all this, the acting within the show is on par with most of Marvel's attempts on comedy drama. Katherine Heigl and Patti LuPone is probably the most interesting, engaging characters on the show. Teen is one of the things that is dragging this show drastically down to where it could have been. Not that it's saying much, but his character, his costume designs is overall not an experience worth enduring. Jen, surprisingly enough, I forgot about this, she ends up surviving the road and takes her powers back from Agatha before she flies off into an unknown direction. Probably make a spin-off series about her, but we'll see what happens. But as I know of now, everyone is pretty much dead within the coven. Lilia probably had the best send-off episode and escape room. The music in the show majority of the time is either playing the instrumental ballad of Down the Witch's Road or the full ballad, which is catchy until you hear it about 80 times and then you're over it. The rest of the music is fine, but I will beg the sound producers, please, anyone making any kind of teen show, teen drama, comedy drama, whatever, stop playing Billie Eilish's music. It doesn't work. It will never work, whether you do the instrumental version or if you do the full song. It's cringy, and I'm done. I've watched 3 shows at this point fail at this miserably. I've had enough. I'm tired. The CGI in the show waffles between decent and then bad. The cinematography isn't all that creative. They heavily rely on blurred backgrounds, which I see Marvel shows doing a lot. I think we need to stop doing that because even though the show had practical effects and backgrounds that they actually designed, a lot of the times they either shoot it in a very horrible way where it looks cheap, like you're at a school play, or it just looks like that they didn't want to afford a proper background. They did it, so let the viewers appreciate it. Agatha All Along just drags with scraps. Glimmers of decent ideas that you parse through like bones of a meal you've already eaten. And the pacing largely drags depending on the focus of the character. If we're focusing on Teen, it can be a horrible episode. If we're focusing on Agatha or Patti LuPone, you're most likely going to be more interested in what's going on. Is it better than She-Hulk? Sure, but the gap probably isn't as wide as Marvel probably hoped for. To me, this is not part of the required itinerary for Marvel media. You'll be fine with a quick Google search. Therefore, the show is off the menu for me. I would never watch this again. I would never want to even think about the show again other than self-inflicted pain. But then again, the show might work for different audiences. But what did you guys think? Did you watch the show? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, and if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Check out the links down below for portals to new endeavors because fun stuff happens there sometimes. But anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye.